Most of you know that, by this point at least, that perhaps the favourite thing about my channel is... No, of course it's not you, it's Caramel, of course. Fuck you, you're not important, I'm important. Watch my shit. Anyway, the favourite thing about this channel is, that I have a way of expressing myself without really having to show myself, And having an avatar rather than, using your face is very, very useful. Because, one could argue that an avatar with bright colours and a sort of distinct design will always be more recognizable than your face. So, it gives yourself, an identity without using your actual identity. And even, it doesn't even have to be that big of a distinct design, because if you just use, a piece of fruit with googly eyes on it, then that's still, a channel avatar. Then that still gives you a little bit of, expression, despite it just being a fruit with eyes. And I think it's beautiful because, as long as you are consistent enough with a general outline of what your avatar should be, then you're always going to have a recognizable brand, so to speak, which is why I call Caramel channel branding rather than just the face of the channel, because she hasn't always been one consistent design. And that's it gives you that creative freedom that you can always tweak your character or your avatar, your piece of fruit, ever so slightly to fit the situation. I know quite a few YouTubers who do that. And if you're a channel like me and you use you create your avatar in a medium such as SFM, then you can also use it for animation. You can give your otherwise blank slate of an avatar some character, which it's just a very, I wouldn't say healthy, but it's a very fun thing to do to get people more interested in your channel, even if it's just the character that represents that channel. And it's of course it's an ever evolving process, because if you can name me one YouTuber who has, in let's just say 2 years, never designed or redesigned their channel's aesthetics or their style or their character, trust me, they're doing something wrong. Because okay, it's healthy to stay with one general outline, but if you really have your mind set on this one specific thing, and audience's interest changes away from what you've set yourself out to be, then you're gonna have a hard time on YouTube. Now, I of course can't really give that valid opinions on that matter, because fucking look at my sub count. But I just mean to say that you're always evolving as someone who makes content on the internet on a regular basis. However, to such massive upsides come very, very, very big downsides. Because the thing is with an avatar is, when you create an avatar, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's the aforementioned piece of fruit, if it's an animal, if it's a humanoid, if it's a human, if it's a robot, you're always going to be mocked. If you use, for instance, a black lolly as a, for a lack of a better term, you're gonna be saying like, he's a lolicon, he likes lollies, right? If you use, let's just say a very voluptuous woman as your avatar, then it's going to be like, he wants to shag his avatar, And if you use an animal, then oh good lord, you know how many furry jokes are going to be made about you. You just know it. And don't even get me started on if you have a robot for your channel branding, because oh lord, that's not going to end well for you. Now, the other thing is, that's also paired with that is Rule 34, because no matter what it is, people will eventually have sexual thoughts about it. Your avatar can be a fucking box and people will want to shag it, There is no winning in that situation. And for some reason they also always assume that you want to shag your avatar. Because I've already had quite a few chubby women jokes thrown my way because of my slight redesign, I wouldn't even call it that, of Caramel, So it's there's always going to be those jokes made, and there's always going to be people that wanna fuck your avatar. That's just a given, It's the internet. We can't stop it. It would be useless to say, guys, please don't, because this is the internet. That means that they'll explicitly do what you told them not to do. Now, if you're someone like me and you have very little to no talent, then you're always dependent on someone else making your avatar for you, And in and of itself, that's not a problem, if you have the finances. Don't go and asking anyone for free shit. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Don't be a Karen. Don't do that. But you and your artist will never 100% click. Like, that's not possible, because there's always, there's a specific style and there's a specific image that you want. And when designing an avatar, okay, I didn't really design mine. It's just kind of a combination of having my loadout change over time. But when you design your character and you come to an artist, and I've had multiple, people who I've asked, and they've given me a rough idea or rough sketches, and it's never 100% what you want, and you just have to deal with that, So if you can draw, if you are an artist on top of being a content creator, then by all means just do it. But if you have to draw another avatar, or yours the same avatar in different clothing or something, for every new project that you're doing, for every new purpose, then it can be quite tedious. Because I would also be lying if I said that I enjoyed making some of those SFM posters that were only used for one video. Now to elaborate on that point, if you want to change your avatar and you've just established a look already, and you want to change it, then oh boy, good luck, because you're actually screwed if you have to backtrack all of the slides that you've made, all of the profile pictures, all of the other channel branding, intros, outros, you all have to change that if it all involves your avatar, and you want to change that design, because consistency is kind of a big thing when you deal with such a project, for a lack of a better word. Like that, it's a bit tedious, especially if you draw your avatars, If you're like me, you do it SFM, it's little to no big deal. If you change your loadout ever so slightly, you can just delete the items you've rigged to your model, and you can just rig new models. That's no issue. It's not a big issue. But if you draw, like just drawing tablet, physical drawing, it's going to take a while. It's not an instantaneous process. And just overall, if you want to change your look, it's just always, with time, it always takes time. You cannot just immediately integrate a new thing and expect no one to raise an eye, expect it to kind of go down without hassle, because it always takes a little bit of time, to get used to it yourself. Like, okay, you might love your new design that you've commissioned, that you've drawn for your channel, but it's always going to be different from the thing that you used before. That's just a given. However, perhaps the biggest downside, and that's something that I've personally experienced, the biggest downside to having, an avatar as channel branding, which is the one that I've experienced the most recent and is the hardest to deal with, is when you want to disassociate with the property that your avatar is based on. Old videos, old thumbnails, old projects will always remind you of a time you want to leave behind, and that can seriously affect you in a way that you didn't think was possible. Because if something by any turn of events makes you uncomfortable, and you know, every video you made up until that point contained something that's directly linked to that thing that made you uncomfortable, that's a very downheartening experience. So I do advise anyone who wants to have, you know, channel branding, you know, get a design that's universal. Get a design that you can use anywhere. You know, it's going to be very hard trying to leave behind an era of your channel when that channel was based on that era. So I do implore you to think about giving your channel a certain look. Like, yeah, sure, in a year it's probably all going to be different, but make it a good year. And I think that's basically all that, you know, you have to deal with when you're, you know, making channel branding. I do hope this gives you a little bit of insight of what I'm dealing with, and I hope that if any of you ever, you know, make your identity on the internet a very specific thing, do that with well due